And welcome, everyone. Welcome to another OSR tabletop with myself, DM Bloodworth. Actually, let me just switch screens here. Get this one up. So, welcome. And as you saw on the title of this live stream, the OSR Dying again. So, what prompted this? Well, I was really quite surprised that a little over 2 years ago, I had done a live stream in response to this clamor that was coming out that the OSR is dying and independent games are not keeping up. And although there were some good independent game quality games that were out there, they are by no means able to sustain the hobby, and the OSR is dying, and so on and so forth. And then about a week and a half ago or so, I saw that, once again, like almost like clockwork, the same kind of um, declarations that the OSR is dying and indie games can't keep up, and new players, even with all of the issues taking place with Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro and D&D, 5e or Forever D&D or whatever the heck you want to call the 2024 D&D. Despite the fact that it's had a rocky start, let's say, that people are still avoiding going to the OSR because of commentators and such. Actually, go straight out here, because we make commentators such as myself or others, and no names were thrown out there, but we make people uncomfortable to come to the OSR and whatnot. And I'm listening to these things, and I was like, in 2024, you're going to argue that OSR and indie games did not have probably their best year, or between 12 and 18 months. They didn't have their best year that they probably had in any other time. I can't count on one hand the number of OSR and independent Kickstarters that broke $1 million in backing. I mean, it was far more than what many people believed would be possible. And first the benchmark was 1 million, and then it became 1.5 million, and now it's up to $5 or $6 million is something that is certainly within reach of some of these the best produced and best supported games out there. So yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at it, and then when it got turned back, and said, well, those people that are on YouTubers that really do focus mostly on, or almost exclusively on, OSR, we don't have content to put out there because the OSR just doesn't produce enough, or independent games just don't produce enough, to talk about, which is, uh, I mean, for me, it's such an absurd claim to make. I mean, looking at my own channel, it's like I can't keep up with the number of topics that I want to talk about the OSR and OSR games and independent games as well. So I mean, it's just crazy to me. But let me get to some of your comments and say hello to those that are popping in. So. Here we go. Howdy, Steam Bud. Steam Bub, sorry. How's it going? And Cal, always good to see you. With the proper rituals, the afterlife will be achieved. Yes, I mean, it's almost. I know I joked on someone else's stream, actually on DM James's stream, and I was like, yeah, I'm doing a live stream today. I hope people are able to join in. And I want to really, I'm inviting people to come on to, come in backstage and then come onto the screen and talk about OSR and indie games that you're currently playing, and why you chose them. So I am going to open that up to everyone, to come on in, and you can just say, hey, this is a game that I'm running right now. We're all having whatever time or experience you're having with it, you're welcome to come in. Hey, if you want to come in and say, hey, I tried this particular one and I wasn't too crazy about it, and, I'm looking for something else, you're welcome to do that as well. I am completely open to people expressing their opinions here on the channel. So let me get to some more of these greetings and such. So, Ajax, how's it going? Face blue smiling. Hello, how are you? Yes, I am doing very, very well. Thank you. And here we go. I haven't been a part the OSR scene, but this is like the second time I've heard it's dying. Yeah, it's probably like my sixth time hearing it, to be honest with you. And it's like the reoccurring thing that is kind of like monthly, or I shouldn't say monthly. It's like something that comes up like every 4 months or so, and there is a cycle of um, topics that just keep on coming around and recycled and such. But this one has been probably close to 2 years now, and or a little bit over 2 years for me at least to notice it. And after this 23, 24 year, I mean, it just struck me as being the most insane thing that I've heard in quite some time, to make that claim, because you have, OSR and indie games swept the Ennies. Whether you value the Ennies or not is a different subject, but they swept the Ennies. Shadow Dark really grabbing almost everything, and then some other games, lesser known games, and everything took the other categories and such. But yeah, I mean, there's so much that it's hard to keep up with everything that's coming out, and then to make the claim at the same time that we content creators on YouTube don't have enough OSR content to talk about, which is just, couldn't be further from the truth. I literally cannot keep track of the number of people I want to come on the channel and interview because they have products. I can't keep track of the number of, games out there that I wish I could pick up, and I just have to wait, wait till past the holidays and everything, so that I can actually buy a bunch of games that I'm really been looking to get my hands on, and I'm just equally excited, if not more excited, to go to conventions where I know I am going to see dozens of different game systems out there that people are not just looking to play, but people are actually running them, at conventions, which I really do consider that to be, if not the absolute pinnacle of running games, of game mastery. It's certainly darn close to it. I don't know what else you would compare, to running a convention game. What else you would compare to that as being the pinnacle or not. But to me, that's certainly, the height of being required to be on your game when you're running something, in public like that to a group of strangers almost always, and with the hope that they all walk away from your table, having really enjoyed the experience, and will then continue talking about it weeks, if not months later, and then when they see you the next time, they're so anxious to get into your game. That kind of challenge, I think is something that you're going to see far more so. And again, this is just my opinion, far more so with games that are not mainstream, when you can really grab somebody and bring their attention to a new game system. So let me continue through these things. Apart the OSC scene for long. So you've been apart from the OSR scene for a long time. All right. Old school lives on through us. Yes, it does, and that's the other thing. There's, when people have declared, oh well, Dungeons and Dragons is dead. All right, Dungeons and Dragons will never die, and the reason why is because many of us have those books right behind us, that I can run first edition, second edition. I can run OD&D white box. I can run the Holmes edition, Moldvay, D&D Beckme. I can run even 3.5. I don't have third edition, but I have 3.5. I have 4.0. If I wanted to run fourth edition, I could. The one edition I don't have any longer is 5e. I got rid of it. But I can run everything from OD&D through fourth edition if I chose to. Now, I really focus on more OSR now, or if I am running something very old school, I'm most likely running AD&D first edition. So again, it can never die. It will always live on through us, and when we pass on, those of us that are in our late 50s, early 60s, or maybe 20 years from now, 30 years from now, when we start passing on, then the new generation that we have introduced to the OSR is going to pick up. Plus, I've always argued that your game systems of the early 2000s are going to become old school 20 or 30 years from now too. So old school never ends. Let's keep on going. Let's see. Ajax, let's see what you have here. So too many great OSR games out there. Just got Acts 2 PDFs, and it is imaginative, balanced, great writing, plenty of player and DM options, made $300,000. Yeah, and I'm sure that will continue to make money post Kickstarter and everything. I backed it as well. I can't wait to get my hard copy, and there are so many incredible ideas in there. And again, like you said, I mean, it's imaginative, it's balanced, it's it's great writing, and I don't think anyone knew, any other game system treats Dominion play the same way that does, or domain play. I'm sorry. What we used to call end game kind of content. So when you're really and that's why it's an adventure conqueror king. You're supposed to end up as kings at the end, right? So that's what it's really designed to do. So again, Another really great game system out there, did extremely well in its Kickstarter because, $330,000 in a Kickstarter is nothing to sneeze at. That is really pretty successful. Um, but now the trend is that they gain a lot more at this point. And so that's something to see. D&D is dead. Long live the OSR. Well, old school D&D is still alive, and and people are even if they choose not to go to the newest version of fifth edition, whatever they want to call it, um, they'll still play the game books that they have. They won't stop. There's nothing that can force them to stop using their older content. I'd say Castles and Crusades is certainly OSR. It's not quite old school. It's about 25 years old. Um, I would say, or actually, Trollord Games is 25 years old. They're celebrating their 20th anniversary, 25th anniversary. But Castles and Crusades came out in like 2003, 2004. So it's on its 20th year. So I'd give it another 10 years before I'd start calling it old school. But it certainly is OSR, all right, because it was created with 3.0 and the OGL, kind of at the same time. And plus, it was worked on not just from the guys from Trollord Games, which, the Chenault brothers and others that were involved there, but you also had Gary Gygax working on portions of it, or at least advising and doing consulting on the game as it was designed. You also had James Ward working on parts of it as well. So you had several luminaries, if not maybe one of the most luminary of game designers working on Castles and Crusades as well. So it truly is and I know I will get disagreement from at least one YouTuber out there, but Castles and Crusades is the banner carrier for Gary Gygax's legacy, and I can't think of another game system in the present that you can make that argument for. Let's see what else we have here. I think it's fair to call it old school. Yeah, I use the 30-year cutoff date. So once something is 30 years, then it's old school. Um, but others, you can disagree with that. That's fine. Yes, CNC is awesome, and welcome, Alan. Yes, it depends on your personal definition of OSR. Um, there's OSR. In my mind, it's the old school is kind of universal, and the R is mutable. So the R could be Renaissance, it could be revival, or it can be role playing and rules. So old school revival, CNC is not an old school revival game. AD&D First Edition is an old school revival game. OD&D or the Holmes Edition are playing the actual old games. That's old school revival. And it's not just D&D. That's my argument too. If you're playing Traveler, First Edition, that's an old school revival, activity that you are partaking in, or you're running Bushido, or you're running Call of Cthulhu Second Edition rather than Seventh Edition. Then you are doing the old school revival. It does not have to be D&D. So with CNC, Hyperborea, DCC, Axe, Crown and Skull, Shadow Dark, Basic Fantasy, how does one choose which to play? Well, I have them all. So how do I choose which one to play? I kind of rotate them out, to be honest with you. So I am currently running a CNC campaign. I'm now into my 39th week of running that particular CNC campaign. I did probably about another 12 to 16 weeks prior to that, and that campaign just didn't come together in my own mind. So when I moved to my current one, because with all of the Gary Gygax stuff that's being republished by Trollord Games, I wanted to set it in Iggsburg. I wanted to set it in Gary Gygax's setting. And now, as all of these other books are coming through Trollord Games that are Gary Gygax books, then I wanted to get that, and that kind of sense of campaign really has come together there. Um, I've played Hyperborea now for the first time at a convention. Really enjoyed playing it. DCC, I've played it a number of times, but I haven't run it. Axe 2, Adventure Conqueror King, second edition. I'm waiting for that to come out. Shadow Dark, I was running a campaign in Shadow Dark. I had some unfortunate circumstances with that player party. One of the players passed away, and it kind of sucked all of the um, like the soul out of the game, out of the campaign. But those other players are still with me in other games right now, and eventually I'll get back to running Shadow Dark as a home campaign. I'm still running it at conventions all through the remainder of 2024 and into 2025. Basic Fantasy 4, I just started a fourth edition. I have it right here, and just just starting to tear through this, and I'm actually putting together a campaign using this system because I got to tell you, I am blown away by how useful the character sheet is on Roll20 for Basic Fantasy. I'm like, oh my gosh, this thing is just so intuitive. The way it's on there, and the way that you can access everything that you can, and it's very easy to read, and it's still streamlined, and it has all of the macros embedded into it and everything. I think it's one of the best character sheets I've seen on Roll20, and the game system is just such a simple. That's why it's called Basic Fantasy. It is such a simple game system, but it does take you from levels 1 through 20 in one core book, which is phenomenal as well. So I'm really excited about doing that. I mean, you mentioned Crown and Skull, and that's another book that I had here that I was going to talk about. And again, just another example of how an independent game, and I don't know if this is either OSR or indie, um, but it's probably like a combination of the two, because it is such a break. It's such a break away from common game mechanics that you see elsewhere. That it is such a unique experience that I really do highly recommend, even if you buy this book just as an academic study to see how game design works. I mean, this is something that you should really get your hands on. Let me get back to so I can hide this particular thing here, and you can see a clearer screen. Let's see. Roger, hey, how's it going? Yes, and that's it. Just find one that has the depth and rules that you like. Exactly. And if something is like 90% of the way there, you insert the other 10% to make it exactly what you're looking for. Um, the OSR may pick up steam if there is a backlash when D&D 5.5 moves into more digital. Could some 5e players become frustrated and willing to try an OSR game? I believe they will. I believe that they already have in many cases, and I believe that, but I believe that a majority are just going to stick with their old 5e books and continue playing that way. And what is going to really shoot them in the foot is, and I've seen this already in practice, and it's one of their missteps. Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro's missteps was the way that Adventures League was having to try to come up with, well, how are we running this while we're still waiting for the other books to be released, and we can't have a uniform rule set until these books are released. And so there was a really good chance that Adventure League would have to wait 6 months or more before they can continue pick up running their the Adventures League at conventions for a while. And convention um, organizers, I mean, I've had some say, yeah, I don't know how to schedule for this because there's no clear line of what we're supposed to do, how we're supposed to schedule it, and what its needs are going to be in that circumstance too. So yeah, it was a real mess a couple of months ago, as far as, and this was coming from um, convention organizers that I was speaking to, and even had some on my channel as well. And they were saying the same thing. It was like they were all on the same page with it. I was like, this is just a mess. Um, that they didn't have the Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro didn't have the forethought to see that, oh, this is going to be a problem if we're not releasing all of the books, or we're not freeing them up to continue using the old. What they did was they said you have to use the new before the new was even released. And so that became an issue. And I think they're going to continue having issues with D&D Beyond, and releasing material piecemeal there, and then having to pull it back or rescind it or whatever, and trying to replace what you already had there with the new stuff, even if you're not even interested in running the new D&D 5.5 or whatever you want to call it. So I don't see that the OSR is having these kinds of issues, and it's not because people aren't engaged in the OSR. I mean, I think you couldn't be further from the truth there. It's because they don't shoot themselves in the foot like this in trying to force people to play the current thing. You know, when these games like Acts 2 is coming out, and I mean, Alexander Macris never came out and said, "Hey, stop playing the old one." More so just like integrate the new as you're getting it and as you're learning it and everything like that, and eventually you can shift, or you keep on playing Acts 1 if you want. There's no pressure in there, no means of stopping people from playing the older version, and I think that's where these commenters that are saying, oh, the OSR is dying again, and YouTubers out there are, pushing people away, because we're inviting them in. So I don't get that. It's like, at least I can speak for myself. I invite everybody to come in and to play as many different types of games as they can. So let me get that invite out there. So if anyone wants to jump in and talk about a game system that you have recently discovered that you're really enjoying, and there goes the link, so you can link on that and say, so I predict the 5e players frustrated with 5.56 2000 will migrate to Shadow Dark, Tales of the Valiant, or DC 20. Tales of the Valiant is a clone of 5e, so yeah, they might as well just stay with 5e. I see more are just going to stay with what they got, but yes, some will migrate to Shadow Dark. I think that its sales and its the fact that it won across the board is something that's going to bring people to it. And Tales from the Valiant, I think is a little bit, and DC 20 is DC 20 is that other one. I was thinking originally of Matt Colville's game, which is not due to come out sometime in like 2026 or something like that. I think he's going to miss the boat. But DC 20 did really well in Kickstarter. Also, and there's some other ones out there too that are 5e retro clones, basically. And I don't see how they will necessarily compete with 5e, considering 5e is only about 10 years old. So it's not like you can't go on Amazon and buy 5e books right now. So um, it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird until they stop the distribution. That is, well, which I'm sure that Hasbro will probably eventually do. Shadow Dark has tons of third party support and recognition. Yes, it does. Tales of the Valiant has 5e backward support, and it looks promising for 5e players looking for, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean everything is going to have some draw to it. Hey, Killraven. It was clear that Tales of the Valiant was going to be a massive disappointment as soon as the first playtest packet hit. I'm going to give you my personal response to that. When they first came out and it was still called Project Black Flag, I was like, awesome, this sounds really cool. It sounds like they are going to, not that Project Black Flag is a good game title, although I'm not crazy about Tales of the Valiant either, but what they were looking to do was they were looking to basically put out a new game system. And then when I looked at that packet, you're absolutely right. By the third paragraph of that packet, I was already this is just not what they were saying they were going to do. It kept on referring back to the 5e player handbook. And it was like, all right, so if I need 5e to play this, then I don't need this if I have 5e. This is just a homebrew. All right. And I think that is where they truly disappointed everyone. And then they doubled down on that by saying, well, we don't want to lose all of our back catalog of things that we've been writing all of this time. So they didn't want to lose the 5e sales, and so they were just going to move forward with a 5e clone. But initially, they were getting all of the very, really positive responses on the fact that they were breaking from 5e. And then they immediately fell back on that, in really quite a hypocritical way. They fell back on it. And there's nothing worse than being hypocritical when you're trying to do sales. I mean, it just, there's no way around that. Create a second system. Who cares if you have products that's 5e and then products that is absolutely not 5e or connected to 5e in any way? I mean, have a little balls to put out more than one game system. I mean, look at TSR. They have, like, right behind me there's got to be at least 8 different, radically different game systems out there put out by one company. Different genres, different actual systems, based on them. It makes no sense that the ones today want to put all of their eggs in one basket, and that's all they're willing to do because they either lack the talent to do more, or they're afraid to have their own products compete with one another, which is another, like, really weak, I think, a weak message to put out there. Yeah, yeah. I got past literally, Takado. I got past the third paragraph and I was done. I was like, all right, I'm moving on from this. Pointless lateral move for anyone who switched to it. Might as well have just kept using the 5e stuff you already have. Exactly. It's literally a homebrew. All right, that you could do yourself. All right, and nothing really. Not only that was they introduced things that took all of the bad elements of 5e and just compounded upon them. It increased the power curve, to the point that it was like, well, everyone was a superhero in 5e to begin with, and then they gave more feats at first level to make you more of a superhero at first level right from the get-go. I mean, it was just a bizarre way of looking at it. It was like almost an attempt to, hey, we're the new 5e. We're not anything different. See, now Trollord Games just came out with their second edition or their revised edition of Amazing Adventures. They're not afraid to put out more than one game system. Um, that's yet another example between 2023 and 2024 up to this date, this last 18 months. I mean, Troll Lord Games has been hammering it. They've been putting out, legacy books, so they're, things that Gary Gygax worked on in 2004 through 2008. So all of that stuff is coming back out again. And we'll see what other things from his estate that they get to publish possibly for the first time. So that's really exciting as well. So to claim that the OSR is dying, especially in this year, is just nuts. It's just you don't know what the OSR is actually doing. You're so negative towards it for whatever reasons. I think the primary reason is that you're so protective of 5e or Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro that you're not willing to accept that anyone is producing something better. And that's the argument that I would make there. It's like, yeah, you can argue they sell the most, but virtually nobody with any reason will say that it's a better product. 5e is a better product than many other game systems out there. Many game systems out there are just a far better product than 5e or either Pathfinder Second Edition or any of the other far more mainstream game systems that are out there, which there are really only about three or four that you would consider to be very mainstream, and those are beat out by many game systems that no one's ever heard of. And I'm talking about quality, not quantity of sales, but quality of game design that's out there. Yeah, what they did was they're selling off all of their back stock of 5e adventures, and they're just going to move forward with making um, stuff for Castles and Crusades and Amazing Adventures, primarily Castles and Crusades, and they're really hemmed down with putting out all of the Gygax catalog that they have right now, and that's going to be converted to Castles and Crusades. It's not being converted to any other game system. So yes, they were trying to get rid of their back catalog of stuff. Let's see. I got to check my phone and see if Someone is texting me, so give me 1 second. Be right back. Okay. Nope, it's just nonsense. I thought it was possibly my wife. It is Halloween, so happy Halloween, everyone. And I thought maybe we were running out of candy or something. But anyway, let me continue on. Uh, yeah, they're no longer producing. Yeah, but the problem is, Steam Bub, is that if they were going to make it for 5e, they would still have to use the they'd still have to use the OGL or the Creative Commons with Wizards of the Coast name plastered all over it. They'd still have to conform to that. It's why all of these games that are being re-released, like Troll Lord Games re-released Castles and Crusades in an OGL less format. They had to change some of the names and nomenclature, everything. That's really all that they had to change because the game mechanics itself were different enough from D&D that they didn't need to do that in the first place. But they had certain things that still had names that were exclusively part of the OGL 1.0A, and so they wanted to remove that stuff. And they did the same thing with Amazing Adventures, which is not even remotely um, close to D&D, but because of the nature of the OGL 1.0A, they had to make these changes just to disconnect from Hasbro and from Wizards of the Coast. I mean, that's how tainted they made the brand. In my opinion, is that the people just don't want to create things for them anymore. I certainly won't buy something that is 4 or 5e. All right. Never liked the system that much to begin with, and to me, it's like there's too much out there that is better and not written for 5e. Yeah. Hey Terry, how's it going? Yeah, I'm waiting to pick it up myself. I'm waiting to pick up Amazing Adventures as well. I got to wait a little bit, and see when. It'll probably be after the holidays. Sometimes, maybe I'll pick it up at Page at Philadelphia Area Game Expo in January. That's when I'll probably do a big push. Um, I just got slammed with a $935 car bill today, needing all brakes and everything like that. So that's really going to set me off from not buying anything in the next 3 months, let's say. Um, I've got to recoup and get ready for that convention because I want to go to that convention ready to make some purchases as well as running games. So let's see. I know I was trying to point out that Troll Lords can work with multiple systems, but Kobold not being able to was a bit silly. Yeah, I mean they certainly could have if they wish to. Let me double check to make sure no one's trying to come in. Sometimes I forget to look at that and to see. This one does not give Restream does not give you a cue when someone is in the room. That's something that StreamYards used to do. So if you're in there, just throw me a chat that, hey, I'm in the room. let me in, and I'll make sure to glance that direction a little bit too. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about what was that other issue where it was alleged that we don't have content to talk about, that we don't, and again, I mean, I'm not patting myself on the back or anything like that, but when you look at my channel and you look at how many different game systems, old and new, that I actually cover, and the fact that I talk about gaming, and that's one of the things I wanted to, really point out, with this particular, negative comment, or towards the OSR, is that this person was saying, oh, they don't have content to talk about, games, and so they instead talk about people around the games, and it's the exact opposite, right? It's the, you know, um, those individuals are talking about the games. They are talking about the game systems, and it's this individual that's saying, "Oh, well, you see, they're not talking about games. They keep on." Bringing up others that disagree with them, or whatever. I mean, in some bizarre way of trying to say that we don't have enough content to, to stay on, and to make a video every single day if we wanted to, talking about OSR and independent games. It just doesn't make sense. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's my Shadow Dark. I was looking for my first edition list that I have on the shirt there, and I was like, I wasn't seeing it, but I do have an advanced Dungeons and Dragons list on the front cover, clawing down that very famous Trampier uh, black and white drawing of a lich from Monster Manual One. And but then when I grabbed the black shirt, I was like, all right, the Shadow Dark will work too, especially since it's one of my examples of an OSR game that really did exceed expectations, and kind of crushed it in 2024. So again, to say it doesn't, there weren't major successes in both OSR and independent games. I mean, I'll talk a little bit about independent games. So, um, I'm a big fan, and I'm running a campaign right now. My first campaign with Fallout from Modifius, and really interesting system. Really a lot of fun to run it. Of course, I tweaked it a little bit here and there, but for the most part, we're running it, almost 100%, almost 100% core, way as it is written, as I'm learning the system and running it at the same time, and the players are learning the system, and enjoying themselves thus far. And it really is a lot of fun, and we're all looking forward to the next session, and that'll be session 3 next Thursday. And and we're having a great time with it. I mean, it's a very interesting, a fairly simple system as well. Although one of my players today was like, yeah, there's a lot of but ifs in there. But if you roll this, then you have to look at that, and that kind of a thing. So there is some layers of complexity in it, if you wish to pursue all of them, in that level of complexity. But you can simplify it as well. But yeah, it's a great system. It's a great, when I was speaking to DM James earlier on today, he was mentioning, the One Ring, which he was basically saying the One Ring is probably one of his most favorite game systems out there, and virtually everything that Free League puts out is a high quality game. I would argue that Hyperborea is right up there, as level of the quality of the game system, the quality of the books, and so on. I mean, just the unique aspects of that game system as well is also something that I think is really really stands out. And again, Hyperborea is really popular at conventions, and most of the time it's Jeffrey Talanian running the game system himself. So you actually have the creator of the game actually running it at conventions, and at conventions big and small. So you're not going to have that opportunity with 5e. All right, you're not going to be playing 5e, at the table of at the table of Mike Merles, who was the primary designer of 5e. Just not going to happen. I would play Fallout and Atomic Punk 2160, the OSR game the Basic Expert made. All right, and yeah, you're certainly welcome to. There are other versions of Fallout. Um, I'm waiting for I'm waiting for uh, I'm waiting for Bethesda to team up with somebody. It'll probably end up being Modifius anyway to do the Skyrim role playing game. I mean, if you look at this Prima guide, and this goes back to I think it was like 2011. Um, if you flip through this book, and maybe I'm going to do that on a video one time, is just to go through this book here and show you how this is so perfectly set up to be converted to a tabletop role playing game almost as it sits right here. All you have to do is take some of the rules that are in here, some of the mechanics that are in here, and convert them to pen and paper. But I can see this as a semi class based, because the classes only make you gain experience in certain skills a lot faster. So it's a skill based system, and you don't need attributes either. So it would be a totally separate system than using, D&D mechanics in any real way to it. So, I mean, I love to see this come out in a tabletop role playing game. That would be that I think could truly be uh, one of the best fantasy tabletop role playing games ever produced if they captured that, because the lore is phenomenal as well, and goes back to the late 90s. I think the original Elder Scrolls was probably like 98, maybe 99, possibly even earlier. Um, yeah, it's near criminal. I know he already said it. The fact that there isn't one is near criminal, and it doesn't make sense that Modifius, with its connection with Bethesda, hasn't done it already. I mean, they've done other ones that they've already had. So they have the Fallout. They do have Elder Scrolls, like a skirmish game, like a miniature skirmish game. So why they haven't crossed over and just, like I said, you can convert this into a role playing game just from all of the descriptions of everything, and even some of the mechanics that are already here. It's practically written already. You just need the very base, the foundation of a tabletop role playing game inserted into this. Yeah, but I think we're talking about an official one. You know, even if it is, I don't know if there's already a 2D20, and I don't even know if 2D20 would work best with this system either. 2D20 did not work well with Star Trek, in my opinion. I just think it's the wrong system for that kind of theme and setting. But maybe 2D20 would work better with this, but I don't think so. I think that this is straight up a certainly a D20 system. and then you go with, or it might work with like a multiple system, like what you have with Savage Worlds. Savage Worlds could work with this. Now, Modifius is not going to do Savage Worlds. They're going to do a D20 or a 2D20 system. That's kind of their bread and butter as well. But but I think that they can also create a system separate from that for this IP, which I think it would do really well. Yeah, I have a bunch. I have almost all of them. I have like Oblivion's Prima Guide. I have a bunch, and yeah, these are expensive too to buy. To find them on eBay and everything, they're really quite expensive. But yeah, the Prima Guides are awesome. I mean, this one I'm going to do a video series going through this thing and talking about why the hell this isn't a tabletop role playing game yet. So I will certainly do that. Yeah, yeah, it's an awesome book, and I have, like I said, I have Morrowinds and I have Oblivions as well. So yeah, I could bust out all of those and just go through them, and I think I might even have an Eve Online one also. So yeah, yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of third party content for Shadow Dark, which is another reason why to say that the OSR is dying this particular year is pretty nuts. Yeah, Witcher 3. I bought the Witcher bundle, so I have like 1, 2, and 3, and I played one a little bit, um, and I don't know. I get very scattered brained when it comes to sticking with a uh, a CRPG. I lose interest, move on to something else, and then like a couple years later, I'll go back to it. I played in a custom Whirlwind game. It was very good, but there was due to the other problems. It could be really good. Yeah, I mean uh, any of those. I mean, I remember when I got Daggerfall and I opened up like the CD had it had every book like the CD-ROM. You can go into it. You can go into its files. This is really old school stuff that you can actually go into the files of the CD-ROM, and I printed out every single book that was in Daggerfall. It filled up a binder with about 300 pages of lore, in that binder, and every single little fragment, and I cataloged it and everything like that. Of course, I ended up throwing it out, but I mean, it was an incredible, catalog of stuff, and I do have my Daggerfall disc, but I believe it still runs on just DOS. So you got to load it up through DOS, and I wouldn't even know how to do that conversion. I think I had to when I was running it the last time. I had to run it through like a Windows 95 emulator in order to still run it, or something crazy like that. So I don't think it's going to be very much use to me as far as that's concerned. But they have all of the lore for for the Elder Scrolls Online anyway, so you don't have to go through that kind of a step of putting it together. Yes, they are real artifacts. If you want to go hard fantasy, Maestro Media is currently kickstarting the Smurf role playing game. Yes, I heard about it, and from what I understand, it's doing really really well. Um, it's almost like as well as I mean, Palladium did great with its Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Kickstarter as well. Saying it's like not unheard of for games, game systems on Kickstarter or other crowdfunding to break the $1 million mark. I mean, it's certainly out there, and very easy to do. Well, no, I shouldn't say very easy to do, but it's not uncommon anymore for them to pull in that kind of thing, because people are looking, and that's the thing. People are hungry to find something else. They're hungry to find an alternative to 5e, and that's why it's doing so well. Somebody ran the Smurf RPG at ShireCon. All right, yeah, I remember hearing about that, but I didn't see it. I should have taken a look at it. Oh, excuse me. Um, Let me take a look at Kickstarter right now as I'm here, and so Kickstarter, and let's see. Let's see. Oh, excuse me, Jesus. So so here we go. I'm going to actually share this screen, and we can follow along together. So I am going to go to Kickstarter and share. So Discworld just started, 1,600% funded. So this is Discworld Adventures from Modifius. Let's see how it's doing. 2 million. All right. So there we have one. 2 million. Still has 6 days to go. I passed this one up because I really have no interest in the content of it. The adventures part of it. Conan. Let's see how well Conan is doing. So about 300,000. Still has 4 days to go. I'm still going to continue running the 2D20 version of it. I didn't see anything really compelling that told me that this is going to be seen in the wild far more than the old. So I did not back it, just to be honest with you. Let's see. Let's see. What is this Lone Wolf one? Is this going to be a supplement for Dragonbane? All right, so we could talk about Dragonbane, right? So another one, and this one is at 100,000 plus. They were only looking for under 20,000, and sometimes, like, when you dig behind the numbers, sometimes it's not that it's not selling well. It's that it's so cheap that you don't see that big number, in there. So let's see. Um, One of their higher pledges is like the master, which is only $75. So that's kind of like average for things. Here's $84 for the non pledge. The deluxe edition is 162. That still sold quite a bit, actually, considering they sold over 100 at that price level for the deluxe edition. So that's actually pretty impressive. This one here, they sold nearly 70 at the $216 level, which is their highest here as well. I'd say that did pretty darn good in comparison to others. Let's see what else jumps out at me going through some of these things. All the gaming stuff is up on top. And let's see, going back to some of mine, Castles and Crusades Reforged, which is their OGL less part. Let's see, the campaign did 169,000. All right, but they pretty much advertise this as it's essentially the same game system, just without the OGL. So I'm still fairly impressed with the fact. Plus, they had like 8 different Kickstarters in the last 12 months. That's pretty cool. Um, and a lot of work. Yeah, Dragonbane is a great game. I hear a lot about it. So, hey, Paul, how's it going? So, Discworld is a fun book series. As an RPG, prepare for disappointment. Um, yeah, that's like Ring World or River World, and those other ones. I mean, it's kind of hard to really capture those books sometimes. And like I said, I mean, um, Modiphius's Star Trek did not really capture the theme of the theme of the show very well, in my opinion. So, Lone Wolf, the Pick Your Own Adventure series, no, I don't believe so, but I would have to go back and take a look at it again. Um, I don't think that that is what it is. Let's see. I'll go back and look at it. No, it's for Dragonbane, so it's not a choose your own adventure kind of thing. I know what you're talking about. So let's see. So again, like I said, the that um, idea that there isn't enough content out there for us YouTubers to talk about is silly. It just shows how any individual believing that is so disconnected from from the hobby, really, because how could you even say that you're connected to this hobby and not realize, um, not go to a convention and just see all of the different game systems that are out there, um, that that have either just started in the last 18 months, or are starting to become popular again in these past 18 months is just crazy to me. um yeah it it just didn't. I thought it was going to be much more open world, you know um and just allow you to do something other than be a Starfleet officer. When I first looked at it, and I was looking at the starter sets and everything like that, when it was still in beta, I I looked at it and was like, yeah, but what if I want to be a smuggler? Like or a an Orion pirate. You didn't have that option in there. You had to create it all on your own. And to me, that just wasn't a. I mean, they didn't even let you play Klingons in the very beginning either, unless they were a Starfleet officer. You had to wait until they came out almost like more than a year later, with the Klingon source book. So it was kind of just I think that they got an IP that was too big for them to really wrap their heads around and how they wanted to present it, and so they presented it like they do all of their others, and it just didn't work. Um, so that's I think that that's what its downfall was. Now they made a new one, and the fact that they made a second edition so quickly tells you that they even know that they kind of were off the mark with that first one. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like, yeah, I certainly don't need to take things that have nothing to do with 5e and then claim that they're somehow connected to 5e, or Dungeons and Dragons in general. There's a lot of, game systems out there, or there's a lot of, different genres out there that you could talk about, that are connected to the tabletop role playing hobby. And so to say, hey, they don't have any content, or their only content is to talk about other people and not about games. Just look at our channels and look at the number of games that we are actually talking about, and whatnot, or if it's on Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call that. Um, you know, I've seen some of the comments that were being made, by various individuals, and they were talking about gaming. They weren't talking about personalities. They were talking about gaming. All right, and posing a question out there. I will throw out names like Harmony Ginger threw out a tweet the other day. I went on to it and I responded to it, and she was basically talking about the issue of, how do you bring on new players into an established party? Do you bring them in at first level, or do you bring them in at the same level, or some other usage? I mean, that's a talk about games, and what kind of mechanism or mechanic do you use, or what kind of homebrew do you use in order to bring in a new player with a new new character, and at what level you do. And somehow that was seen as being you know um, a talk about personalities, on online, instead of just like, no, this is a person that's talking about gaming. And it's a super legitimate question to ask too, whether you're inexperienced or experienced, because I looked through that thread and I was like, yeah, that's actually a pretty good idea to do. So even after running for running games for 30 plus years or 40 years, wherever I want to put that that time frame on, I could still learn things from other people, and people a lot younger than me too. So it's just a bizarre take to say that we don't have enough content to talk about, that we don't have enough gaming content to talk about. I think the other situation is actually more aligned like that, right? There's not that many positives about 5e going forward, that there's enough to talk about that. On a general basis, they just talk about whenever it releases and then it dies down again. So again, my opinion, Watsy is the five. Yeah, is the McDonald's. It's the McDonald's regular hamburger. Doesn't even have the cheese on it. Yeah, but you have to modify that, Steam Bub. When I was looking at it, and I was thinking like, City Heroes used to do that, where if you brought in a lower level character, they would gain XP a lot faster, and so you would have, and it brought it managed their it leveled out the party as a whole, and then leveled out the mobs that they would face as a whole too. So it became kind of an equal challenge. But that one first level character in a group of, let's say, level 10 characters, um, that first level character was still generating a lot faster XP. And when they were talking about this on Twitter and talking about, well, yeah, just like, some people were very hardcore about, yeah, let him in at level one. And, basically, if they die, they die. Um, the, the point is that you can have them do that, and you can have someone just sitting there getting ready to heal bot them the whole time that they're playing. But they should gain more experience, and not just the fact that, oh, well, they participated and they killed something that's 1,000 experience points, and so when it gets split, they're going to gain 200, and they're going to get faster there. That's just giving them the participation that they hit the creature once or whatever, or they participated in the battle at some point, but it's not giving them a bonus on top of that, for that added risk that they learn to deal with. So I would make them level up a little bit faster, or I would have them come in one level below the lowest level already in the party. To me, that's also a fair way of handling it. and it won't be too long before they get caught up, at least um, once those other player characters get into those long spans of level bands. That will come a lot faster to them as well. So they'll eventually get caught up. Will they always be a little bit behind? Sure. That's just the nature of it. But the point is that they're not going to feel that as much as time goes on. And that's a legitimate conversation to have. That's not a that's not an affront on um, anyone that's looking to um, anyone that wants to play it differently either. But that's not an affront on anybody that disagrees with that. So let's get to some more comments. No, let's see if I missed anything. So as we sit here right now, I'm going to give off my. So these are my recommendations. Shadow Dark, awesome game, a lot of fun to play, very easy to run, a lot of fun to run it. Great convention game system. Basic Fantasy 4E. You don't find it cheaper. Everything in PDF is free. The book itself, I just got this. It was not even $10 on Amazon. And don't worry about getting it on Drive Through RPG to get the PDF attached to it, because the PDF is free anyway. So it's actually cheaper to get it on Amazon if you have Amazon Prime, because you're not going to pay the shipping and handling. And you're also not going to wait 2 or 3 weeks for it to come from Drive Through. So I definitely recommend that you pick this up on Amazon. And like I said, it's under $10, um, free shipping and handling, and you can always grab the PDF for free from the Basic Fantasy website anyway, or from Drive-Thru as well. You can get the PDFs for free. You can get all the adventures, all the supplementals, everything for free in that game in PDF. So you really can't beat that. You can get the adventures for like $5, I think someone told me. So it is by far the best bang for your buck in the OSR. All right. Moving on. Let's see, I clicked on it, but it didn't come alive. A Pagan Perspective. Long live the OSR. We have tons of great games, Spec Me and COC being some of my faves. Yeah, I mean, they're both great systems. My favorite of COC is second edition. That's the one that I played with first, and it's one that I ran recently, and I just absolutely love it. It just has a feel to it that I don't think I would get the same thing, and maybe that's mostly nostalgia, but I don't think I'll get the same thing from seventh edition that I did from second edition. I have them both, and they're both great games, but one just has that feel to me that the other doesn't. Free League is bringing out a box set for Vaesen, as well as some other books in their Kickstarter. Yeah, cool. Um, yeah, Vasen's another one, but I'm going to probably end up getting. I'll probably end up getting Dragonbane, and then sometime after January, I'll probably end up getting Dragonbane, and I'll probably end up getting Dragon Slayer RPG as well. Certainly before June, because I think in June, um, Greg Gillespie is going to the Central New York RPG Con, so it'll be my first chance to meet him in person. And I'd love to have a talk with him, look over the game, and or purchase it there as well, because I'm sure he'll probably bring a couple copies of it, with him there, and see what it's like. Yeah, I grabbed the. Yeah, they don't have the alternative on They don't have the alternative on Amazon, but like I said, I got it cheaper on Amazon than I would have from drive-through, and drive-through allowed me then because I had money there, in my account that I was able to purchase some other things that I was waiting for. So I got Swords and Wizardry Complete, the hardcover that'll be coming in a couple of weeks. So yeah, what I saved from not getting it on drive-through, I was able to get another game system that I'm really interested in digging into. Yeah, I hear a lot of things. The timing of that was just, the timing of that Kickstarter was just bad timing for me. Financially, I was getting ready to go to that, to go on vacation, and so it was just a bad timing. Yes, I know, Roger. We had that talk during our live stream and everything. If you didn't see our live stream from last week, I had Roger on, and he is the organizer of Central New York RPG Con, and I highly recommend. I already booked my hotel, and I'm already looking to run three different games there. So I'll be running Shadow Dark. I'll be running Fallout RPG, and something else. I already forgot. I run so many different things. I already forgot what that one's going to be. But yeah, definitely. I will have Roger back on again sometime around April. I'd say so, about 2 months prior to, and we'll see where the convention stands by that point. So I know that we'll most likely be able to start signing up for games and whatnot by then. So it'll be cool. It's definitely good to go to a convention in its first year too. So that's awesome. Um, and yeah, so that's cool. So there you go, Roger. Ducato and his cousin are planning on going as well. So uh, that's already going to be a good time. Let's see, Flynn. Let's see, Vasen Core Book, I think, is half off still on the Free League website. Um, in hardcover or soft cover? It's only in hardcover, I believe, right? Um, just timing, dude. If you weren't here earlier on, I just got slammed with needing to get brakes all around on my car, along with an inspection and an oil change, and that kicked me back $935, all said and done. So, not making any purchases for a couple of, because I wanted to save up for page 2, and get all set up and ready for that as well. Um, so we'll see. We'll see if I will get around to doing it. I'm running out of book space, shelf space again too. So I'm gonna have to start culling my collection again, and putting aside some things. I still have some board games and stuff down at the bottom shelf. That's going to have to change. Dragon Slayer is your go-to. Um, I also like Fantastic Heroes and Witchery. All right. Oh, cool. All right. So you got three people already looking for my Fallout. And I'm currently running it right now. I'm kind of tweaking the adventure and everything like that. So I'm kind of play testing it with my players right now. So they are the first ones going through it, and and so far they're having a pretty cool time. I'm kind of crafting it as we go, kind of thing. So that's going to be awesome. Um, yeah, 25.67 is cheap for a core rulebook. Aren't they shipping it from? You know, will you pay $45 for it to be shipped though? Um, because that's probably in Europe, I would think. So it's going to probably cost a lot to ship. I don't know. You're trying to tempt me. I gotta hold off. Um, should make a stream of that, the chopping block. Oh, that would be. I mean, I did a stream when I took the 5e off, and I actually gave the 5e to my niece. So that's already been done. I have I only have 3.5 on my shelf as far as that is concerned. They have a U.S. distribution. I know, Anil. I'll double check it. I'll look into it. Um, yeah, they probably do. I know sometimes they don't. Like some games, they don't, and other ones they do. And I know Modifius has the same thing as well. Like sometimes they don't have them in the U.S. But yeah, I will look into it. Let's see. So yeah, I mean, I'm doing a tour of everything that I have on my shelf right now, and I'm like probably 100 videos in, so or something crazy like that. I have so many videos in my shelf tour um, that I'd be curious to see. Um, I'd be curious to see how many actual videos I have in that tour. I'm going to look it up in a second. Um, I just got to make sure the sound doesn't go off. No, it didn't. Good. So let's go to playlists and shelf tour. Oh, that's it? I thought I had far more than that. Oh, because I'm connecting them to other videos. So I've already gone through 46 books on my shelf. Now, some books, I should amend that. Some books I didn't do each individual book. I talked about like these books are the ones that I have from this particular collection and covered them all in one shot. Um, like my like my Conan books or my Robert E. Howard books that are kind of off view over here. Those I just talked about the whole series. I did not go book by book of those. I just talk about I have these 11 books. Otherwise, that would have been 11 separate videos, and most of those are still shrunk wrapped. So I didn't want to open up the shrink wrapping on them anyway. But yeah, so 46 already I've gone through, and I'm only on the seventh shelf. I still have um, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Still have 11 more shelves to go through to cover everything. So it's going to be a while. Definitely be a while. The monochrome edition of Dragon Slayer is sweet looking, so I might want to snag that one. Yeah, yeah. I will probably pick that up at the convention. Um, so Roger, if you're talking to Dr. Greg, tell him definitely bring um, some extras, and I will certainly buy at least one of them there. Shadow Dark is not that expensive though. It's what is it like? Isn't it 60 for the standard? I think it's $60 for the standard. I mean, I got it from the Kickstarter, but I think it's only $60 for the standard. And when I did the Kickstarter and then added the standard on. Yeah, thanks a lot, Terry. Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun going through them, and like I said, when I'm looking at some of them, I will be critical on some that I don't have that much of a use for, but I'm kind of a completionist, so I wanted to make sure I got them all. I'm really looking forward to druids because I love the druid class, and there's so many different ways that druids have been depicted in various role-playing game systems that I'm really looking forward to. And the druids are the next one in the queue, so I'm going in alphabetical order with the classes as well. So yeah, you'll see the complete druids handbook probably within the next 2 days. I have another book I just picked up that I will be doing tomorrow, and that is Recon Quest. Um, Not too crazy about the name, but it's definitely a book that I'm curious to go through. Rediscover your history, reclaim your homeland, revive your heritage, rebuild your honor. All right, and so this is normally 19.99 euro, and that's what I paid for it in. That's what I paid for it on Amazon, and it's kind of a simplified version of Mifrog. So it's I'm looking to dig into it as I go and see how some of the systems work. I know I got hung up on one issue that I was trying to figure out, and now that I have it figured out, I'll go through the. So that will be a video tomorrow for certain, taking a first look at that game as well. So again, I mean, you can go to obscure and you can go to fairly well known OSR games out there, and and the content never stops. Yeah, there's so much out there, and a lot of times we used to complain about the bloat, but when you're doing things like what I do and others do the same thing, bloat's not bad when you're not going to be at a shortage of content when they are releasing so many different game systems out there. Okay. So yeah, so we have gotten votes in for Dragonbane. We've gotten several people mentioned obviously Shadow Dark and Dragon Slayer, and a few I never heard of either. So there was one earlier on that I just never heard of, and now I want to look for it. Fantastic Heroes and Witchery. I've never heard of that before. So that'll be something that'll be interesting to take a look at. I also got into a mindset at one, not this past summer, but the summer prior to. And again, that was part of the reason why I didn't jump on Dragon Slayer at the time. Was I said to myself, how many retro clones do I actually need? I have Homes Edition and I have AD&D First Edition. And so why do I need that that particular book? I also have I have Adventures Dark and Deep, which is kind of modeled between uh, what AD&D First Edition did combined with Gary Gygax's articles in the various places that he was on, whether it be Dragon's Foot or Dragon Magazine and whatnot. And if Gary was still with TSR, what game system would he have created? And this is Joseph Block's calculation, let's say, of this is what Gary would have written. Although I would have gone with Castles and Crusades because he actually worked on it. So, kind of hard to argue that Castles and Crusades wasn't the next system that Gary would have, considered to be the the continuation of his gaming and his creation, because it was the last system that he worked on before he passed. And I have other, Gary's other stuff too, which I have people going back like 2, 3 years when I first got, um, I always get the two names mixed up. So I do have legendary adventures and dangerous journeys. I always get those flip flopped. Um, but yeah, I will go back to talking about those as well. Let's see. Savage Sword Against the Dark. All right. We are changing over to Cthulhu Dark Ages from Magic World. Okay. Um, Gotta collect them all. Yeah. Yeah. That's the scary part of the hobby is when you get stuck in the all right, now I started, now I I've gone down the rabbit hole, and now I got to buy everything in the series. I kind of stopped with second edition once I got the complete Necromancers book. That was the last thing that I was buying, and I was like, yeah, that's all of the character creation things that I really need. Okay. Yeah, and I follow so many YouTubers that I just lose track of who I've watched more recently. So sometimes I follow over like 300 YouTubers, so it's kind of hard again to keep up with everybody. You have a good night, O'Neill. Yeah, I'm going to be wrapping this up now too. So anyway, I want to thank everyone for joining in, and we shall bow our heads to the death of the OSR, and by midnight it will have risen again. So it will be either resurrected or it is in its undeath. So we turn our backs for 5 minutes and the OSR is dying again. Yes, Judd, it's and not only that, but there isn't enough content in the OSR for us to talk about the OSR. That was the other thing. There's just not enough content out there for us. There's not enough games out there. The bloat is not real. The bloat is a myth that there aren't enough games out there for us to talk about in the OSR. So that was the other thing. So not only is it dying, but there's not enough content in the OSR for us to talk about, and OSR and indie games cannot compete with 5e in any way, or 2024 5e in any way, because they just don't have the following that 5e has, which is again something that I think if you said that 4 years ago, you'd probably be right, but um, between 2023 and now, these last 12 to 18 months, that's a tough sell. That really is a tough way to try to say, this doesn't, the OSR and the independent gaming scene and the general or the overall tabletop role playing hobby is on the decline, to the point of collapse. Is just silly. It's just a weird thing to put out there. Um, Meanwhile, making videos that are totally not connected to 5e, and just pretending that they are, and that passes as content. I don't know. It's just bizarre. So anyway, I am going to leave it there, and I thank everyone for having come in. Enjoy the rest of your Halloween. I haven't heard our bell ring for probably about 45 minutes now, so it's probably tends to stop here around like 8:30. We get a lot of young kids, and they usually don't start until about 6. 6:30, and then it pretty much dies off at 8:30. Um, we might get some teenagers later on, but at 10 o'clock, we shut the whole thing down. My yard is too big for people to walk in the pitch black, and there's too many wild critters out there for people to go down darkened driveways and wooded areas. So anyway, you all have a great one. Thanks for stopping in. Pretty much everyone I introduced to OSR games loves them. Yeah, and that's been my experience as well from 2015 until now. Um, I've probably introduced 30 people to D&D Beck Me, and of those 30 people, only two said that they were going to go back to 5e, that they just didn't like it and they were going back to 5e. Everybody else just absolutely loved it, and then they went on to other games that I was running. So yeah, it just doesn't hold. It doesn't hold. And if you go to conventions, and I encourage everybody to go to a convention, go to a small convention, go to one that's as local as possible to you. Go into that convention and then just look around at the tables. If it has 10 tables, I guarantee you're going to see at least 6 different games being run. All right. You're not going to see an overall dominance of 5e or Pathfinder or whatnot. To be honest with you, I don't recall in the conventions that I've been to. I don't recall ever seeing Pathfinder Second Edition being run. And the AD&D 5e is typically only through Adventures League. It's not at the other 40 some odd tables that some of the larger conventions I've gone to. So it's like it's actually segregated, oftentimes in a totally different room for that, and the rest of the hall of literally 40 tables is anything but 5e. So it really is a bizarre claim to make that that the OSR and indie game scene is declining, when I see nothing but growth. And again, I don't care if it's an anecdotal and it's just my own experience. Everybody in those conventions, it's their experience too. So it's like when I go to a convention and there's 500 other people at that convention, they see the same darn thing too. And when we go in January, and that convention's most likely going to be pushing 1,000 people. I know it just broke 700 badges sold last week or so. So when we go there, we're going to see 15, 20 different game systems being run at least, and we're all going to have that same experience. So I don't hold that it's such an anecdotal thing and such a a unique perspective that that the OSR and indie games are on the rise, and that you can see them being run at game conventions, just like I don't hold on to that idea, that equally silly claim that YouTube channels, whether it be mine or others, aren't talking about games. We're talking about personalities instead of games. And when you go to our channels, you'll see that we're putting out a lot of game content for just a large variety of games, and oftentimes different genres as well. So I encourage you to go out there and to engage in the hobby in as many different ways as you possibly can, play as many different games as you possibly can, delve into different genres that you've never done before. Go to a convention if you've never been at a convention, and at that convention, playing as many different games as you can there as well. And and you will just, and go out there and find as many YouTube channels and other kind of channels and content and blogs and such that you can find that are related to the hobby, and just see for yourself. See that, there is a lot out there for you to engage in. And so I'm going to leave it there. I'll get off my soapbox there, and you all have a great one. Enjoy the rest of your Halloween tomorrow, November 1st. So, and a Friday. So enjoy your weekend coming up. And as always, I look forward to seeing you on a game screen or at a convention sometime soon. You can see that little code up there. Scan me. You scan that, you'll go right to the sign up page where you can subscribe, and then subscribe, hit the alert button, comment in the comments section or whatever. That's my YouTube channel, and so you're welcome to go over there and interact in there. I get back to your comments and everything as quickly as I can.